caused one person, and maybe more, to say, I'm not going to do that. That's two. I did it and somebody else did it. Two people refused to come here and learn about the deeper roots of Yeshua because of a stumbling block at the wrong point in time, saying the wrong things at the wrong time. If we're mindful of weaving a garment of righteousness, if we're mindful of what we're doing, and we're careful with what we're saying, people are going to understand stumbling. But when we say it with such boldness and such conviction, like I used to, it hurts people. This leads me to churches themselves. When I got saved, and before I got saved, I despised churches. Couldn't stand them. I walked into one church one time, and it caused such a problem with my wife and I because it was like a fashion show. I mean, the women were barely dressed. I mean, it was horrible. That was not worship. I couldn't stand being there. Misty would go to church, and I'd say, you know what? I can do more here reading my Bible than I can ever do there. I wouldn't go. Another church we attempted to go to, my dad came to town and convinced me, said, hey, we need to go to this church. Give it a shot. Try it. I think my brother had even recommended it. And on the board, they had a membership scale. Gold members, silver members, bronze members. If you were a gold member, then you got to go to the gym, you got to use the library, you got to do all of these great and wonderful things. Who knows, you may have even got a parking spot closer to the building. But if you were poor, if you couldn't afford to be a part of that gold membership or silver or bronze, well, you were an outcast. You may as well have not been there. They didn't care. We can't serve two masters. We can't serve both God and money. TV evangelists were another stumbling block for me. One evangelist used to regularly come on TV, and I'd watch them. As a non-believer, I would watch them. I had 3 channels. One of them was TBN. And I would watch TBN when nothing else was on. And one preacher would come on regularly and pitch his idea for his ministry to have an airplane. He needed an airplane so he could reach more people. And my thought was, I've got people right here in my own backyard that need saving. Why do you need an airplane? It's almost that concept, Daddy needs a new pair of shoes. It just doesn't fly with the non-believers, with people who don't understand what it is we're doing. Talking about things like that come across as weeds or as poison. The world is watching us, and they're judging us. As a kid, it was common in the neighborhood I grew up in, you just fit in. If you just fit in, you probably didn't get beat up regularly. I still got beat up, but it wasn't regularly. But it becomes instilled in you to just follow. Just follow the lead. Just stay with the course and don't ruffle the waters. Don't stir things up. And when I went into the Marine Corps, I was still that same type of person. And every morning I would wake up on Saturday morning, Sunday morning actually, and I'd hear the same noise every morning. A door opening, a door closing. One morning, I decided, what is that? Who in the world is up this early? No Marine on the face of the planet should be up this early. I cracked my window, and it was a guy that lived next door to me, Bible in hand, heading for his car. Every Sunday morning like clockwork. I was recovering from what I had done for the past 2 days. He stayed home in the barracks Every Friday, every Saturday. But Sunday morning, like clockwork, he was up and out the door and going to church. As a Marine, when I was there, I couldn't understand what motivated him to want to get up and to not just follow the crowd. There were herds of us that were going out on Friday and Saturday. You could just blend right in. But he stood out by himself, the only one in a barracks of well over 200 rooms, 3 people in every room. He was the only one that got up every Sunday and went to church. We need to be painting a picture of who Yeshua is. Colton Burpo saw Jesus. Not only did he see him, he spoke with him. He even goes as far in his book to say he sat on his lap. He watched his father curse God for his son who was dying. Colton stood next to Yeshua. And when his dad said, well, where were you with Yeshua? He said, I was on this side. On the right side of Yeshua, he stood and watched his father. Not only should we be careful of what we're saying here and who we're saying it to, but that just proves that Yeshua is always watching. He is always there, looking down on us, watching us. That makes me change a lot of things. Because when I go to work, I may not be the valued Christian warrior. Some days I'm having a bad day and I'm just Jason. A good Yiddish word would be Shlemiel, right? I'm just Jason. And I imagine most of us have that. Matthew 5:8 says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I want to look in the mirror. And when I look in that mirror, I don't want to see my face. I don't want to see my mug in that mirror. I want to see the face, that face that Colton Burpo saw. I want to look in the mirror and I want to see his reflection. I want the world to look at me and see him, not me. I know that I sin regularly. I'm not trying to hide that. I'm not trying to kick dirt over it. I know I have flaws. I'm human. I have flaws. But in a moment, we're going to have an altar call. And when we do, some of us need to look inside ourselves. And trust me, when I do these teachings, I have to walk it out. I can't just come up here and speak idle words. God has me walk it out. And I went to Rabbi with this teaching 6 months ago. 6 months I have been walking this. Doing my best to try and be a better person, and it's not easy. I'm wild-natured. But Todd Burpo was a pillar of strength in his church. A pastor of a church of probably well over 5,000 people. Looked at each and every Sunday as a power, a pillar of strength. No man should have to be that pillar of strength. Yeshua is that pillar of strength. Every man is flawed. Rabbi would stand here and tell you the same thing. He has flaws. Every pastor and elder in this room would say the same thing. None of them would say that they are a pillar and a tower of strength. Yeshua is their pillar and their tower of strength. But yet in churches we tend to look at pastors and preachers and rabbis. They should be perfect. I'll be honest, when I went to church for the first time, that's who I thought a preacher should be. Perfect. If you're going to speak it, you should be living it. I learned the hard way that that is nowhere near true. If I'm going to preach it, I'm going to live it first. I'm going to be faced with all of that adversity that I'm getting ready to talk about, all of those things that God's going to use me to speak. I'm living it first. I am going to walk out everything that He gives me. Some of us, we think that we're planting good seed, but yet we don't know the people that we're associating with. We don't know who or what we're talking to. We've got this idea as to who we are and who Yeshua is, and everybody should understand that on the same level that I do. It could be poison to somebody. It was poison to my family. How many more out there? It's poison. If we don't use it properly, if we don't let the Spirit guide us in a situation, we let our pride take us instead of the Spirit, God will let us venture out on our own. And I just pray that the people that I have hurt before and after I was saved, God is coming in behind me with a broom and sweeping up the mess. I really, really hope so. I know a lot of people that I've talked to. I talked to a friend just the other day who just got saved. And he told me, he said, I was so worried about you when we were in the Marine Corps together. He goes, I thought you'd be dead by now. And I probably should be. Some of us need to look at our life as if we're mending that garment. As if we're looking through that garment and finding where we've woven wool in with linen. And now at the beginning of this, finding Yeshua in the Torah, the answer was, let's find him. Let's see where he's at. Where is he? Leviticus 19:19. What's the big idea? Where's Yeshua? Yeshua is the shepherd over the flock, watching over the herds, the shepherd of shepherds, making sure that all things in his flock are acceptable. Yeshua is the hand bearing seed, that hand that has seed of his word, giving it to us to plant. He is also the inspector of that garment, that when he looks at that final tapestry or that final garment that we're going to wear, he's inspecting it, making sure that every line is linen, acts of righteousness, not wool that we've attempted to slide in. When we come forward, and you can end this if you want to come up here, you can go to the piano, however you want to do. But when we come forward for this altar call, and I've said it before, we need to come back to the center. That center of where we found Jesus. Just like Pastor Kyle said in his message not too long ago, I'm Jesus, remember me. We need to go back and remember who that was, who he was, who he meant to us then. So, while Rabbi closes us,